Collin Sexton has been the subject of multiple polarizing debates around the NBA, with some people claiming that he puts up empty stats, he may not be as good as his averages indicate, and that he's not a winning player. Now, this has been fueled recently by the fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers have not so subtly implied that Collin Sexton can be gotten for relatively cheap. It was rumored that the Pacers, Thunder, Pelicans, Knicks, Heat, and the Lakers are all interested in potentially trading for the 22-year-old shooting guard. The Cleveland Cavaliers have reiterated that he is absolutely available, so in this video I want to take a look at Collin Sexton's season last year and what his performance indicates, what I believe his trade value is, and what I think the most ideal spot is for him to succeed as a player. There's going to be a lot of information in this video, so be sure to stick around to the end so you don't miss anything. Before we get into it, if you guys are new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because I'm posting NBA content all the time, and I'm less than 200 subscribers away from hitting 1,000. And if not, if you could go ahead and hit that like button, I would greatly appreciate it. That's the best way to support me and this channel as we continue to grow. If you're already subscribed and you're returning, welcome back, and let's get right into the video. So, Collin Sexton is obviously proving to be a pretty solid scorer. Selected by the Cavs in 2018 with the 8th overall pick, he immediately came into the league and was able to score right out of the gate, averaging almost 17 points per game on some solid efficiency in his rookie season. His sophomore year was a similar story, progressing to a 20-point per game scorer, and this year turning into an absolute bucket, averaging 24 points per game on 48, 37, 82 shooting splits. Now, you've probably noticed that I haven't mentioned any other stats outside of his scoring and shooting. That's what brings me to my first point that I want to address in this video. Outside of scoring the basketball, Collin Sexton doesn't really do anything else at a high level. Defensively, he's underwhelming and very limited by his size. He's not really good at rebounding, even for a guard. And when it comes to playmaking, he's quite honestly just not very good. He's consistently near the bottom of the league in assist to turnover ratio. This year, he averaged 4.4 assists to 2.8 turnovers per game for an assist to turnover ratio of 1.57 to 1, meaning for every turnover, he's only contributing less than 2 assists per game. Now, it's worth pointing out that the Cavs have been better this year at utilizing Collin Sexton in the shooting guard role alongside Darius Garland at point, but it further drives home the notion that Collin Sexton is really only going to contribute points for a team and not really much else. While he can progress into a decent defender, he's still going to be very limited by the fact that he's only 6'1". Now, when it comes to scoring, Collin Sexton is proving to be incredibly reliable. If you look at his shooting splits by quarter, he's very consistent throughout the entire game. Even looking at his field goal percentage by shot distance, it shows that the only real area that he struggles when it comes to scoring is in the 16-foot to 3-point range, but fortunately that's where the lowest number of his shots are coming from. This is indicative of the fact that Collin Sexton knows his strengths when it comes to scoring. He doesn't try to take shots that he knows he can't make, he's adept at exploiting defensive weaknesses, so while he doesn't bring much else to the table, what he does bring to the table, which is scoring, he does at a very high level. He's not going to take bad shots, and if what your team needs is a bucket, then he can be that guy for your team. Now, let's go on to the trade rumors. It's somewhat unclear why the Cavs aren't interested in retaining Collin Sexton. It could be due to the fact that they plan to draft a shooting guard with their 3rd overall pick, or it could be for some other reason. Of the teams that I mentioned earlier, there are some that make a fair amount of sense, and some that don't really make a whole lot of sense. Starting off with the Pacers, I actually don't hate the idea of them getting Collin Sexton, as they don't really have a go-to scorer right now. They have guys that can score efficiently with Sabonis and Malcolm Brogdon and TJ Warren, but as far as a primary shot creator that they can go to get a bucket late in games, I think Collin Sexton actually brings a good amount to the table for them. Another team that has been rumored to be connected to Collin Sexton is the Oklahoma City Thunder. It seemingly makes sense looking to pair a scoring shooting guard next to the franchise cornerstone Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, hoping to make that your all-star backcourt of the future. As an OKC fan myself, I don't absolutely hate this pairing, but I don't really love it either. I would imagine the asking price for Sexton is going to be at least 1 first-round pick and likely a young asset, and I would imagine a player like Dort would have to be included as a way to make the assets make sense. It could definitely work for both teams, but I'm not sure it necessarily is a home run trade for OKC. Now, the Pelicans are an intriguing thought. They have a great point guard in Lonzo Ball, a great forward in Brandon Ingram, an amazing forward in Zion Williamson. Putting a scorer like Collin Sexton into the mix on that team would give them quite the offensive power. That gives you 3 20-point-per-game scorers, and with Lonzo progressing nicely, that team would have among the most promising young cores in the NBA. The Knicks were mentioned as well in connection with Collin Sexton, and I don't hate that fit. They do need to add some offensive potency to their team, and Collin Sexton is nothing but offense. Their defense was already one of the best in the NBA, so adding Collin Sexton would be a good fit, and it really probably wouldn't hurt them that much. The Miami Heat were also mentioned in connection with Collin Sexton, and I just don't like this fit at all. I would imagine the Heat being connected to him is just smoke due to the fact that the Heat say they're interested in literally every player that's rumored to be available, but I don't think he fits the defensive mindset that the Heat seem to gravitate towards. Maybe Jimmy Butler and Eric Spoelstra can bring the best out of him, but I think the Heat would likely have to give up more than they're interested in giving up in order to acquire Sexton. For that trade to work, I would imagine Miami would have to include Tyler Hero, and it's pretty clear at this point that they're not willing to trade him. And last but not least, the Lakers have said to be interested in Collin Sexton. This would be interesting because if LeBron hadn't signed with the Lakers, then him and Collin Sexton would have been teammates in Cleveland. It'd be a pretty funny story to see them on the Lakers to fight for a championship, and I think the fit for the Lakers with Sexton is just fine. They're already incredible on defense, so I see no problem with them going after a player that can just be that offensive punch in the mouth that they need when things get stagnant. And while he didn't attempt very many threes per game this year, Sexton did prove to be a reliable three-point shooter, hitting them at a 37% rate. So that gives LeBron the spacing he needs at the guard position in order to kick out to on his drives. So all of this being said, I think that Collin Sexton is going to be able to come and contribute to just about any team he's on. He definitely bolsters a roster that already has championship aspirations, and I think he also provides another young piece for rebuilding teams to work with. While he does have some flaws in his game, he's still young and already almost a 25-point-per-game scorer, so you can hope to build off that solid offensive foundation from there. So where do you think Collin Sexton ends up at the start of next season? Be sure to leave a comment below, and as always, if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like on the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks.